All right, it's time for another GBC module review, and we have 3 today because I didn't think there would be a whole lot to discuss just because they're fairly simple modules, but I think a large part of the video is going to be the attribution because there's a lot of people that worked on these, so I'm going to go through each one as we go. So we just have a simple elevator here, our double elevator, and then we have our, which I just broke it, a splitter module, so this would be considered a utility module and can be very useful. And then we have another elevator. This is a scissor lift. So we're going to check all these out one by one. All right, so first we're going to look at the Scissor Lift version 2 Junior. This was designed by Hugh Mullington, and if you don't recognize that name, he's the creator of the Brickset website. So for each of these creators and the people who made the instructions, all of that will be linked in the description. These instructions were done by none other than Fernando Q, and there will be a link to Planet GBC to get these instructions. One thing I will say, and I saw this on both the Planet GBC and the Great Ball Pit website, keep an eye out for ads that talk about downloading PDFs. And this isn't a dig against the websites themselves, but the advertising companies, because that's disingenuous. You know, you're going to a website to download a PDF, and you have these big ads that say download PDF, and it's just a download button. I even clicked on it just to see what it was, and it took me to this other page and started installing a browser extension. Don't click them. I'm sure most of you will probably know, but just in case, make sure people know not to click those links. This is not what you're looking for. With that being said, let's look at the module. So I took a few liberties with the color variations. I didn't have the, it was another shade of blue for the actual scissor lift pieces here. I just used blue. I have plenty of blue. I didn't use yellow for these axles and the bushes on them. And there may be a couple other things, but that's what springs to mind immediately. One thing I do like about it is for serviceability, you know, both of these just, well, okay, that one doesn't, but it's only held on by a couple pieces if you needed to take that off. But say like this motor, if you wanted to swap the motor, it is literally that easy to get in there. And from what I've seen, it's extremely reliable. I haven't had any issues with it. When you're building, just make sure you get this timing right between this cam and the, I guess there's a cam inside here that actually controls the scissor lift, because you want this gate and the lift to be in time with each other. And that will become apparent once we start running it. Normally I use my own adapters, power function to 9 volt. I should have been doing this from the beginning. I'm just using the official one because then I absolutely know which direction this is going to be, and you'll know at home. Because with this module, it needs to go in a very specific direction, and it actually is the reverse of what many other modules use. Most modules will say turn clockwise to the right. And let's see what happens when we go to the right. Watch the scissor lift and see how it has to push down and over. It's not as efficient that way. I'll show it one more time. You see it, and it's even worse when there's weight on here. So if we go the opposite direction to the left, it's a lot smoother when it's going up. So we got the gate goes down here, balls roll in, gate starts going up, and then it's going to push at the bottom here to push the lift up. So it definitely works a lot better. So you want to make sure you're running it in the right direction. Maybe not everybody knows this, but if you turn these 9 volt connectors in different directions, you will get a different result. So let's try to get it to where we can run it from the right. So this is going clockwise. We want it to go counterclockwise. Let's lift it up. That's still clockwise. So if we turn it to the left, now we can turn this to the right. Now, if you're stacking connectors, that's going to be a little more difficult. These don't stack anyways, you know. But just something to think about. Maybe you have other 9 volt connectors going to other things, and then at the top, you have this guy. You could turn it to the other side. Or if you have other modules that want to run with the 9 volt regulator to the left, you can put it with those. All that being said, let's run some balls through it real quick, and then we'll start looking at some of the other modules. Whoops. Okay. Wouldn't be a GBC video without dropping a few balls, right? So, gate goes down, lets them roll in. And this is one of those modules, you know, with these plates, I tend to get a lot of balls that stick, but it's, you know, as you have balls coming in, you know, it should help to get those unstuck. Okay. So there you go. So it's a very simple module, but well, not necessarily super simple, but you know, this took some effort to put all this together. I just mean the end result, I guess. You are going to need a lot of these. I believe that's 36 tooth gears. I'm running out at the moment. You know, this module takes 5. Some other modules I've built took a bunch. I had actually bought some of these several years ago on Bricklink, but now I'm getting to the point I need to order some more. And another difference here, we're using an L size, you know, large power functions motor, where most modules will use an M size, but you probably could make some adjustments in the gearing and use an M size motor, but this works fine for me. So that's it for this one. Let's look at the next elevator. All right, so this is the long double elevator version 2. This design is by Fernando Q, as well as the instructions, but it's actually based on a design by Mako Arts, and again, all these will be in the description. Basically, the original was much shorter, so this just kind of extends it a little bit, and it almost functions as like an auxiliary reservoir module, because this can hold quite a bit in here, and it doesn't really seem to jam things up or cause any issues if there are a lot of balls inside of there. And you know, underneath here, not a whole lot, but it's fairly simple, but you know, very well designed and very reliable in my experience so far. You've got a clutch gear in there just in case you do have any issues. If you need to replace the motor, it's not too hard to pop out of there. So let's go ahead and run some through it. Oh, okay. So I think the only differences I have here, these are supposed to be 6 length. They're not in many sets. So I'm going to have to get those on Bricklink. For 1x2 blue tiles, could not find any. So these are slope pieces. So these are supposed to be flat just like this, and it gives it a little more of a fluent, I guess. Can't think of the word I'm trying to think of, aesthetic to have these flat just like that. And the other thing, I ran out of 13 length Technic beams in light bluish gray, so I had to use a dark bluish gray in there. I actually made a comment to some friends, I'm like, you guys got to chill out with the 13 length Technic beams and the 14 length Technic bricks, because at least in my experience, I have much more 16 length or 15 length beams than I do the 13s and 14s. They're just kind of odd, but it is what it is. And actually, some of them said they have plenty more of the 14 length bricks, 13 length. So I guess it just depends on what sets that you've bought or what you've ordered online. So let's drop some balls in and run this guy. You can see it runs very smooth and just kind of does its thing. And every once in a while you'll get some balls that just kind of want to hang out and don't want to go, but as you have balls rolling through, they'll eventually go. So yep, we got all of them. So yeah, works very well. I like the aesthetic of it and everything, and the function of it. The only thing is when you go to pick it up, I always want to do this. The problem with that is that these just pop right off. And they're actually connected off stud, so they're actually connecting to, you know, these round holes in the stud are going to go through, you know, these are going to go through there. I'll get on there. So just something to think about, and maybe pick it up. It's hard to know where to pick it up because, you know, these can come right off too. So it's one of those things, but it's fine. And I've never had a problem with it falling apart while running or anything like that. So if you have the parts, I think this is a good module for somebody just beginning. You know, I didn't have to do any modifications. I didn't have any issue. Well, okay, I did have one issue. These cam pieces here, I got one of these off by, it's, you know, half a stud basically off because you've got these offsets in here, and I put one side on the other. So it looks so immediately glaringly obvious, but I started running the module and couldn't figure out why it would turn all the way and then get stuck, and if I went the other way it would go all the way and get stuck, and then I finally figured it out, and it's run perfect since that. So all right, let's get on to the splitter module. All right, this is a fun one. I really enjoyed building this one. This is Monty splitter. And this front section here is based off of a workshop module by Matt Norman, who runs the Great Ball Pit website and Discord and everything like that. And the splitter module is designed by HRU Bricks. The workshop module section has been somewhat modified by Dunes, or Brick Engineering. The module is by Monty, and the instructions are by Jude Wright, Jude the Lego dude. So yeah, a lot of hands took part and to bring this to creation, but I think it's just great. In my time with GBC, I have found a couple modules that are a little slow compared to some of the others. That'd be a great use for a splitter, to split into a couple slower modules, or I'm sure there are lots more uses. If I had been to conventions and kind of seen throughout the day the things that happen, I would probably see more reasons for a splitter. Maybe you could modify this where you can bypass and always go one direction until you get this other section over here troubleshooted or anything like that, or module swapped out. But I love all the work through here, all the slopes and everything, and it works very well. I haven't dropped a single ball from it. This was my first conveyor belt using the telescope pieces, and I'm blown away by it. I love them. I've already went to Fernando Q's return module and swapped all the 3-length friction pins out for these telescopes because it works so well. And I did run modules for a while, and eventually one of these had bounced off onto the table somewhere. I just found it hanging out. That was on the return module as well, so I just stuck it back on and it was fine. So I think they work very well because if you're using the friction pins, they have a little bit of travel, and they can pull out just enough. They'll get caught on something, or they're more likely to drop balls and things like that. So I am a fan of the telescopes. And in here, this is interesting. So this is your input bin here. And let's see if you can see this. It is self-agitating. So as it turns, you have this cam here, and that lifts it up and drops it. So instead of having the spinning bionicle tooth or things like that to get them unstuck, that works pretty well. That's the first module I've built that had that type of agitation. Even after all the research I've done, I'm not sure if that was part of the modification by Dunes or if that was already in the workshop module by Matt. Again, there were a lot of people involved in the creation of this. And shout out to Jude Wright, Jude the Lego dude. The instructions were very well done. There is a complete parts list at the bottom, and it has part numbers for each of the pieces. That is incredibly valuable to me. There are some pieces I just didn't have on hand. Some of these pieces through here, I didn't have, and I had to special order them. And having that part number just makes it so easy to find the pieces you need. The one thing I will say, you've got these pieces here. And in the instructions, it had the part number for the one that doesn't have the axle hole in the middle. And that is going to be harder to find. I'm not even sure if it was in dark bluish gray. So that was the only deviation that I can remember from the part numbers in the instructions. So that was a lot easier to find when I was trying to order the pieces. And that's nice. It's nice and modular, just pops right off. It makes it easier if you're packing these away or traveling and things like that. And that would be a cool idea. Lego used this design in spaceships and all kind of things to make them modular, where you could clip them apart and put the front and rear directly together, or you could have a midsection. kind of like a table, you know, a big kitchen table where you can take the middle section out. It kind of makes me want to do a whole series of modules that snap together like that and are modular. That could be pretty sweet. So in order to run this, if I start it running now, I'm going to have balls coming out both sides here and probably make a mess of my table. So I'm going to actually set up all three modules together, and we'll use the splitter to go between the two elevator modules that we've already looked at. And okay, well, I just noticed one thing. I still had the connector turned 90 degrees. So if I turn it this way, straight on, which is normally what people do, if I turn this to the right, it's going to run the wrong direction. So again, it needs to turn to the left for this one. So in that case, you know, both of these are great ones to put on a regulator together because they both run in the opposite direction. All right, so I've got all three set up. I haven't tried this input bin with this many balls in it before, so we're going to find out how this goes. But again, the splitter is going to split off into both elevators and then go to the ball box for each of those. Yeah, so far so good. Yeah, that's working very well. It's grabbing a ball each time and it's not spilling them everywhere. So this is the splitter. This is very satisfying to watch. And I just love the way it's designed. It works very well. And then we have both our elevators going. So, yeah, very good. I was expecting to have more issues than that. So, that is it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If I made any mistakes whatsoever, whether it's in the attribution or anything else, be sure to comment below. I don't take offense to it. I just want good information to be going out there. And again, a huge shout out to everyone who made the modules these were based on, or the modules, or the mods, or any of that. They're all going to be linked in the description to the best of my ability. And if I miss anybody, let me know. Thank you for watching, and remember to play well.